Hey, what's up? I'm here taking a look at the Revenge of the Fallen Studio Series Scavenger. This is a leader class figure and is one of the parts to create Devastator. This is a pretty cool little toy, but it's also... yeah, it's very messy in this alt mode. I will say though, I still like it, but I can't get away with the fact that there is a whole bunch of kibble hanging off the back. However, from the side, it looks pretty decent. It's even got some window paint, despite not having any window paint on the front. And it's got some bars and ladders and stuff like that. It looks pretty cool. The entire armature right here does articulate, which is very nice. It's got a number of joints. It's also the arms, so, you know, of course it would. I will say, though, I wish that the scoop could flatten out. I wish there was another hinge joint right in here, but unfortunately there isn't. But you do get a lot of empty space on the front here, so you can do whatever you want with that. And, yeah, it looks pretty decent. It's very solid in this mode, I will say that. Mostly due to the fact that it's got this entire, tire section plugging onto the side and really filling that up. But yeah, it is definitely not the cleanest alt mode there is. You could definitely tell from the back. However, I still have a lot of fun with it. I've always wanted a leader class scavenger figure. I've never actually owned the scavenger figure of this design, or the Demolisher as it was called. I've, yeah, just never got around to getting it, but I'm pretty glad that now I actually have the scavenger figure. So, transformation, let's go ahead and start that off. Let's pull out the panels, and yes, you could definitely see that he's got a lot of panels. There's also a lot of stress marks right here. I don't know why that all of a sudden happened. I'm hoping that's not an indication of things to come, but unfortunately, there's that. It looks like on the other side, it seems to be mostly fine, and I'm hoping that the pin goes all the way through, because that would mean that it's probably not just being held on that hinge, but it probably is. Here's hoping that that is fine, but yeah, just a little concerning. And let's fold this down, fold this up. And for this arm, I'm going to rotate it around, and we're going to do the combination mode first, if I can remember it. Honestly, Scavenger is probably the hardest one to do for the transformation into his combine mode, simply because of the certain things that you have to have in a certain way. Just makes it seem a little complicated on how it works. But yes, that pops in, and I can see some of the stress marks on this side too. So again, woohoo, I might have to ask Hasbro for a replacement or something, just to make sure that, you know, I have something that, you know, I'm not going to be totally concerned about. But anyways, this arm will collapse in like so. And then you do the same thing to the other side like that. And for this side, this was up like that. You bring this down and rotate that in like so. Do the same thing to this side and rotate this around. Pull this up and around, and that will click into place if you got everything right. There we go. This will collapse and click down. Come on. Like so. Very tight. And there you have that. Alright, now here's where things get very tricky. You want to open this up like so to the sides and close up this tire. So these sections where the tabs go in, you want to close that up. And then you want to get it to where I believe this little gap right here will go onto this side, but the tires have to move behind the tire right where the head is. So I think you're supposed to have it something like this. These joints are separate from everything going on right now. And then you rotate it to this side. You take these, collapse those like so. They're on a double joint. And bring these in. Then you do the exact same thing to the other side. Next, what you want to do is collapse these in together, like so. And now you have that entire thing done. You rotate this around to the front where this gap is facing this side. And you bring these down like so. Next, what you want to do... Alright, had to check up on things. You want to bring these out, and then moving them on the same joint. They're both connected throughout the toy, which I don't think is a good piece of engineering. It's very tight and very tricky to move them. But you bring those down, you flip these around, and then there's a little tab right here that will go into that little gap right there, and that will hold the arm in place. It's easier to see on this side. But they will go into place. And then there is the torso mode for the combination of Jetfire. In this mode, you got the arms that could rotate like like this. And then you've also got this joint, which rotates for the elbow, so that's pretty cool. I didn't even know that it would have that joint. I'm pretty glad that they do. And the head will combine on the top here. The Overlord figure will combine into here. So yeah, that's what that will look like. You can hide the head behind there. And I think they did a pretty decent job at this. But let's go ahead and go on to the robot mode. So the first thing I want to start off with is separating this entire thing like so, getting that out of the way, moving these out of the way like so, and then rotating these to where they're out of the way like that. So just getting them out of the way so that the tire can rotate. And I'm not entirely sure which way you gotta rotate it until... Okay, actually the head's a big indication. So, on this giant tire, you've got these little tabs that stick out to the side. You want those tabs to face forward. So, the best indication is that you see this gap in the tire right there. Let's move this out of the way. Okay, you see that gap. You can see where my hand is poking through right there. You can see this little gap. That faces towards the head. So you have to have it that way. Next, what you want to do is take these and just move them out of the way. It'll make things easier. And then these armatures will... Again, very tricky to move them. You move these out. And I know my hand's in the way, but again, it's just very hard. If you got this toy, you'll know how hard it is. And then these little gaps will go into those little tabs. And again, it's very tricky to do. Not impossible, but very tricky. And then they will slide into there. Come on. Come on. Oh, I slid them too much. But you want to line those up, and then those will tab into place like that. Then you take the bottom here, and these will slide forward. Take the wheel, combine that like so. Again, it's really tricky. You gotta make sure that these treads are folded down. And there you have that. You can bring the head down. It's on a ball joint and another joint, so you can lift that up a little bit so that it can actually move, because if you have that all the way down, it won't move. You take these arms, rotate it around like so. Take this, bring them out, and these will rotate. It's very tricky to do because they're very tight. But once you get that, and you open up the hand, once you do that on both sides, you are essentially done with the robot mode. Bring those out, rotate these around, bring these out, open up the hand, robot mode. There is Scavenger, or Demolisher, whatever you want to call him. You gotta make sure as well that this joint or whatever piece is out of the way of the tire, otherwise it will not roll. But there he is, and he looks pretty big, I will say that. Of course, you got the big tire on the top, which is pretty hard to see. There we go. But yeah, this is essentially what Scavenger is supposed to look like, and I think he looks nice. I think maybe the shoulders could have been done better, but that's just nitpicking. I like some of the detail inside here too. I think it's nice, but it's also very boxy. I wish they did a little bit more to it, but otherwise it's not bad. The tire rolls pretty freely, and it rolls okay. It's a little lumpy, and of course on my flat surface it's not going to do such a good job, but it does better than I thought it would. This tire does not roll. You can see the stem of plastic that's feeding into the tire. Of course, it's stuck like that. It's not going to rotate around like the original movie design did, but I don't feel like it's really essential to the overall design. The arm articulation is kind of weird. So you got this joint that goes out like this, which is very nice. You can have this expanded look to it, although, you know, you kind of need the arms to hold them up, so that's a little tricky, but the option is there. You've got a joint that moves out and in like that. You've got a joint that moves like this. You've got a joint that moves forward and back like this, but you gotta watch out because sometimes the joint with the tire tends to hook to that. So you gotta adjust things. You've got a double joint in the elbow, you got this rotational joint, and you've got a joint in here, as well as the hand can move, and you can even use this hydraulic bit as some sort of turret. So, pretty decent articulation with this toy, but again, you're mostly going to use the hands to hold up the figure. I have had it to where the tire just holds it by itself. It's a little tricky, but I have managed to balance it on such. Like so. The hands aren't actually touching the ground. It looks like it is, but they weren't, so that's pretty cool. If you want, I can try and open this up and bring out one tire just a little bit, and bring out another, well, actually the tread, bring out the other side, like so, and try to collapse that in again. I think I need to extend this out a little bit further than that. So basically you have it like this on both sides. Collapse that back together, which is a little tricky. And that just gives you a little bit more room to balance the tire. So essentially all you're doing is balancing this, which sometimes, if I turn this figure, it stiffens the joint, and you can have something like that. So that's pretty cool. In fact, to show you that the arms aren't holding it, there you go. Now, I'm not going to stand the figure on the shelf like that. I just wanted to show that it is entirely possible to do so. I love the painted detail on the face. I believe the black plastic is a separate piece compared to the red, but the separation in that looks amazing. And the paint job looks really cool. So overall, I really do like how that looks. And he is not entirely in scale with the rest of the figures. Like, here's Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime for a size comparison. Optimus Prime should be maybe somewhere around there, at least, I guess. But I think that it works okay, because he still feels big, and he's got to work with Devastator too. As much as they promote that, oh, we're trying to get these figures in scale, it's kind of tricky when you're doing a combination form for Devastator. So I, totally get it. I don't blame Hasbro for any of this. One thing I don't like is the silver paint application here, because it doesn't entirely separate everything, and it just feels like it was just applied for the sake of it. It just doesn't look that good, but I think that overall Scavenger is alright. I've always wanted this character. I've always wanted it as a leader class toy. I wanted it bigger than the one we got, and this is pretty large, so I like it. With that out of the way, that is pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and all those fun doodads, and I will see you guys